Welcome to UCoach, the online athletics coaching resource brought to you by UKA. In this video, UKA apprentice coach Steve Fudge and UKA strategic head of coaching Kevin Tyler take Richard Buck through a specific endurance workout for the 400 metres at Sheffield English Institute of Sport. This video is shot to provide some insight into the thinking behind a coaching session for an elite senior performance athlete and how a mentoring relationship may exist between coaches working with athletes at this performance level. While the degree of detail addressed in this video may be most appropriate for a full-time coach working with elite performance athletes, the underpinning messages regarding a focus on technical improvement, constant athlete evaluation, adjusting the workouts taking into consideration the athlete's physical and mental status on the day, and competency-based skill progression are all relevant to coaches working with all athlete populations across every event group.
Steve is an apprentice coach at UK Athletics and was hired for sprints and hurdles and has a really good background in a whole number of fields, but has never worked specifically with a high-level sprinter before. So, in the summer we started looking for an athlete that we thought we could work with jointly, that we figured we could have some success with. So Steve is acting as the primary coach from day to day, but we get together and we set the program, and I come out to 2 or 3 the quality sessions a week to watch what's going on. And Steve is growing enormously as a coach and has very quickly in a short period of time started to adopt a lot of his S&C material in with the running base work that we're doing, and also some soft tissue work.
Steve, how does this situation help you as a coach?
Just from the background that I've come from, strength and conditioning, working in athletics, there was a shortfall of my knowledge in terms of actual specific running content. So to be able to have somebody to tap into like Kevin, who's worked in this event and had considerable success in the event with several number of athletes, it's a massive opportunity for me to tap into Kevin's experience and knowledge in terms of programming and the specific side of the event, which is an area I can use to complement the strengths that I have in terms of physical preparation and also the therapy side of things that I'm starting to develop as well.
So is it fair to say that Kevin's setting the program and Steve's just delivering it?
No, it's more intricate than that. So originally we made a decision together based on an assessment of what we thought Richard's qualities were to run along the short program. We sat down, we laid out an annual plan together, and we developed the sessions together, and we mapped them out over this general and specific preparation periods. We also made decisions around what the competitive cycle was going to look like. So it's been very, both of us inputting into the program.
Yeah, we have a roadmap in terms of our plans over the general prep phase and the specific phase running into the competition phase. The day-to-day changes to be made, and I see Richard every day in terms of his recovery days as well as his specific days, so I'm in a position to feed that back into the decision-making process to try and make the program flow and meet the needs of the developing needs as Richard goes through the program. So we've got a roadmap, but in terms of day-to-day decision-making, I'm there to feed back into that process and try and influence the direction on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. I guess there's 3 or 4 roles that it does have. One is to physiologically warm him up in terms of muscle temperature, raising his general sort of movement skills, getting him moving. We've just been in the car for an hour driving up here. Second thing, it's a really good opportunity to get some eyes on him and see how he's mechanically moving, so it gives us a chance to sort of assess where he's at what's tight, what's not tight, what's causing certain things to be the way they are. The third thing it does is it gives us an opportunity to start to lay some technical movements that we want Richard to focus on, particularly around his right side and where he's putting that on the ground, which then feeds into the rest of the session.
So how do you know when he's finished the warm-up and he's ready to go to the next part of the session?
As part of the warm-up, we're quite happy to move him on when he's hitting all the positions that we want him to hit. His right ankle is hitting the part of the ground that we want it to hit. He's not moving his ankle joint towards the ground. Things like that we're trying to make sure are perfected. As you saw earlier, we're doing a lot of glute recruitment, a lot of mobility around the hips, so we'll continue the warm-up until we're quite happy that he's firing in the way that we want him to fire and he's recruiting in the way that we want him to recruit, because we don't want to put him into an environment that his body can't mechanically cope with and can't recruitment-wise cope with, otherwise we're going to run into problems. So we're trying to put him in a position that when he gets to doing the actual work, his body is ready to cope with what it needs to do. He's doing heel walks, which is for a couple of things. One, dorsiflexion range around the ankle joint and recruitment of tibialis anterior. When we first started this, he had no dorsiflexion range for his ankle joint and had no idea how to switch on the muscles to pull his foot up. So this is something that we've used to try and develop that capacity, particularly his right foot was extremely bad at it, and that kind of transferred through to the way that he was running as well, in that he was unable to prepare his foot for ground contact. Stick those on and we'll do your checks, because it's quite cold in here, mate. Okay. Anything to report, Rich? Feel good?
It's alright.
How's your quad doing?
It's alright. Settled down over the weekend.
Richard has because he reaches for the ground when he runs, his foot kind of gets in front of him and he has to brake himself a lot, and because of that, a lot of the joints on the right side of his body get sort of smashed together. So before each session we just try to make sure that he has the movement in the joints we want him to have movement in. One of these being his right ankle, which is quite important for us in terms of what happens up the rest of the chain. Took us a little bit of time to figure it out, but we found out his pattern eventually. He also, because of what happens around his right hip, his right leg becomes short and automatically he feels subconsciously like he needs to reach for the ground, and that just makes the problem 10 times worse. So because he does that, he then has to push off out the back of his stride, using a lot of the muscular action because he hasn't been able to use the natural stretch shortening cycle. Because he pushes out the back, there's always a lateral component to that, which then means that he pushes himself onto his left side of his body, and his left side of his body, instead of working to run faster, sometimes just gets used as a stabilizing thing to catch himself. And the thing that's catching him is all the fascia through his lateral side on his left side. So our goal pre-track is always to clean up the right side, because that's the root of all the problems. It's pretty good, isn't it? Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. I'm just trying to stimulate Richard's posterior chain, in particular his left glute, which sometimes go to sleep a little bit. And we just come out the car journey as well, so it's very important that we just get the firing pattern right. Basically just rubbing his glutes to try and make them to sort of stimulate his brain to glute connection to get his recruitment pattern to work, and we normally get quite a significant change in his ability to do that. Just the kinesthetic touch on his glutes gives him enough proprioception feedback to be able to switch on that sort of firing pattern. What we find with Richard is that if the glutes don't come on and we get him to run the next day, the top of his hamstring will be extremely tight and sore, basically because his glutes aren't able to fire up, his hamstrings will come in and compensate for that, and particularly on his left side, it causes a little bit of problems for us neurally through that hamstring. So we just need to try and make sure the glutes are working pre-track. Please. Okay, let's go. Right side pretty good in terms of forward posture, starting to go forward with the head, and the chest is starting to come in, so lock that back. With your left arm, as it comes back, lead with the elbow because you're just opening out and doing that funny thing that you do when you run. Okay.
Keep the right toe.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is it's a very simple drill, and it might seem that it's stripping somebody right back to the very basic level, but we felt that we needed to do that to get some basic movement patterns in place. So for Richard, for him as an individual, as I mentioned before, we had an issue with the right side coming in front of his body and blocking the way that he runs. So what we're trying to do with this, one of the things we're trying to do is re-educate his body to be able to put that right foot in the right place. So therefore we stripped it back down to a really simple A-walk. And really getting him to slow things down to make sure that he can hit the right positions. Mate, just before you stride, get you on here, left TFL. So just when he was doing some of these drills there, Tom, just showing a little bit of internal rotation through left side. We normally find that comes a lot from TFL. So we're just going to open that up a little bit, see if that makes a change. Okay, on your front, back. Squeeze. Good. Yep. Squeeze. Good, well done. It's a little bit better. His idea of a straight back position isn't what actually happened though.
I'm not liking that. It's kind of looking like he's getting very cyclical in his action. He's not, the piston effect's not there.
Your idea of a straight back position is different from ours. Right. So yeah, even that was a little bit like that. So open the chest up, use your shoulder blades, pull yourself back. Just watch your heels, they're starting to come up a little bit too much. So chop back to the ground, yeah? Yeah, back to the ground, punch and back, punch and back.
Reach on the second step, on the first step, on the first contact is too far out. Every time I come back, he looks like he just keeps getting lower and lower, like he's trying to get his body like parallel to the ground, and then to remind him to get back up in a little more straight position. And then the subsequent effects with like just his roll mechanism and where he places his first foot.
Yeah.
And so now it looks like he's just reaching too far. It seems stand up more and get more of that piston action with that right leg. Are you trying to do something different?
Just trying to pull my shoulders back.
I would just stand up a little straighter when you get into the ready position, rather than because you're fairly compressed. You know, you're sort of getting yourself in a really tight seat. I think it's just a little too aggressive. You have trouble getting out of it.
Okay.
And then you reach out, catch yourself. So maybe just be a little. Yeah, there you go, like right there. And then just roll through your left foot. So let you feel your weight go through your left foot, and then punch the right knee. Why don't you do one more 10? Doing all right?
Yeah, not bad.
When you're saying, yeah, not bad, what does that mean?
I don't feel great, but I'm not that bad.
So what does not great mean? There's no particular muscular issue.
No, it's just like a general feeling. Energy levels.
Energy levels?
Yeah.
What are they out of 10?
8.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say 8. Good enough.
80%.
Yeah, I didn't do anything really over the weekend, but I just don't feel great today.
You'll warm up into session, mate. It's the whole day off syndrome for you.
That's all right. I think the big thing is he just doesn't look really responsive coming off the ground.
No.
The amplitude's not there.
The only time I've ever seen that was that day, not last Tuesday, the Tuesday before, and he was just pinging about. Again on Friday as well, a little bit. I think the day, he doesn't respond well to days off, and then the 2 weeks that we ran where he was doing something reactive and powerful, blocks, accelerations, jumps, coming to track the next day, he was a lot more.
Yeah, he responded.
What the session is today?
The session is, he's gone through his warm-up. Then we're going to move into accelerations, which he's halfway through just now. So he's going to do 2 more runs over 30 meters. Then he's going to do runs over 30 meters out of blocks, and then we're going to do 160 meters. Then the important stuff, he's going to do 1 run over 300 meters and 1 run over 200 meters with a 25-minute break.
So how do you decide how many acceleration runs to do and how many, how to choose the longer runs?
Okay, so we started this process when Richard first came back from his break, when he started working with us, and we spent a lot of time working over 5 meters, 10 meters, 15 meters, just getting in place the acceleration mechanics to a place that we were happy with. Then once we had those things in place, we built up the length that he was accelerating to, up to around about 30 meters initially. Once we had that in place, we then increased the number of runs that we were doing over 30 meters, and we're now at the stage where we're starting to lengthen things out. So today is our first run past 30 meters, and we'll go to 60 meters, but it's been very much a slow progression. But in terms of how the program's set up, we're in a long to short program, so Richard's highest volume of his block is around about now, and then as the volume starts to drop off, his runs over longer distances will start to increase in both rep length and the volume of those sort of runs that we'll do. The biggest thing we've changed in his block setup is getting his hips higher,
Don't drop your hip high.
and getting his set position to be a lot higher. What he was doing before, he was a little bit low in his set position, which then put him in angles which were too low coming out of the blocks for his mechanics to be able to handle. So we placed him a little bit higher. Lane's he going in?
I'll call back. I don't know.
It was okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Like I said, it just doesn't look to me like he has the reactiveness that he's had in the past.
So why is Rich not going someone set starting him off? Why is he just going on his own?
Well, we're at the stage where we're just coming to the end of being happy with where his mechanics are at, in terms of they're at a level where we're quite satisfied. They're not excellent, they're not great, but we're quite happy with them. So in the next couple of weeks we might start to put a reaction for him to deal with, but it's taken us 6 weeks to be able to get into this position of skill learning, to be happy enough to get him to now go off a reaction. One of the things that we're dealing with at the moment is, because we're at the stage of the year in this block where our highest volume is going to be at, he's finding it difficult to find the same positions he was finding 3 or 4 weeks ago quite easily, just because he's a little bit tired, and just because the volume of the program is starting to get to him a little bit. So we just have to be extra careful that we're sort of giving him appropriate feedback and making him aware that it's okay to feel like this at this stage. As he moves into January, the volume will start to remove itself, and he will be in a sort of position to start to feel fresh again.
That was the worst of the three.
First step, just not getting it right at all.
No. But the kid, just because if he's not projecting off the front pad as well, like he was not doing in the rollover, I think maybe he doesn't have the air time.
Maybe that's all to do with the fact that his left glute isn't quite working today, because he's just not pushing through that hip.
So I think that's enough of all that. Get him to run the 60 at 95%.
Yeah.
Take a break, then go into the 3 and the 2.
Why did you decide to ask Rich to do is run at 95% rather than 100%?
Because things just aren't firing the way we'd like to see them today, so I don't want to put him in jeopardy. He perceives that it's not going as well as he would like it to go, although it's going fairly well. And typically he'll try and push through that to make something happen, and that's when we run the risk of getting into trouble. So tell him to do it at 95%, then he'll run it quick but very relaxed.
Well, I'm not moving well.
Moving fine.
I'm going quick.
Time's fine. Neurologically, I'm just trying to improve brain to left glute and just trying to open up his back a little bit. Rich has got a tendency to become quite tight and quite short between his hip and his pelvis and his back. And it's very much a neural thing, and it's to do with all the fascia that is stabilising him when he's running. On your front again, just glute check. Squeeze, 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 fire. Good. Fire. You're going 60.
I'm excited about this.
You're just going to run it at 95%. Well, you just cruise through it today? Okay, where's the 60 here?
Started that.
How's that?
Time-wise, good. Got to recover you on, mate.
How good? I must know. I need numbers.
I'll tell you later.
6'7".
Low.
6'6".
Yeah. How do you feel?
Me?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on top form. I feel alright.
Yeah.
I just feel a little bit tired. I don't know why that is.
Well, you do. These 2 weeks are the highest volume you've got to deal with. So one of the things we've been working on is Richard's nutrition in and around his sessions. So we worked a lot in getting him to turn up at sessions with the correct amount of nutrition in him to enable him to perform the session the way that we want it to be performed. We're also working a lot on during sessions, having enough energy and enough of the nutrients that we need him to get through the session and perform at the speeds and carry out the neuromuscular tasks that we want him to carry out. And then one thing we're really trying to hit with him a lot, and find this that he finds it really difficult, is to eat a lot of volume of food in the 1 to 2 hours immediately after training. And we're really trying to hit on that. It's a real window of opportunity, because what we find is if he doesn't do that, he then gets tired at nights and then craves a lot of bad food and a lot of sugar, which isn't good for his body composition, but also isn't good for his recovery going into the next session. So in and around, before, during, after, is something he's really improved on as an athlete. And once we've got that in place, we then start to worry about the rest of his diet and sharpening that up. But until we've got that in place, there's no point in worrying about the complexities of his diet outside that. Actually, talk through what you've actually got here in terms of your supplements, Richard.
So the brown liquid we see in the Lucozade container is just a simple whey protein. No carbs, just protein. I take that at the start of the session and through the session just to give me some protein. The other see-through Lucozade bottle, the orange, is a recovery shake. It's got carbohydrates and protein in there, but less protein and more carbohydrate. In the small Lucozade bottle at the back, we have some amino acids. And then the tall Lucozade bottle that you can't see through is just Lucozade Hydroactive, just something to keep me hydrated throughout the session and alert.
I guess another thing we've been working on a lot is trying to improve the soft tissue quality of Richard. So we've been promoting a lot of hydration, a lot of omega-3 fish oils, to try and deal with a lot of the inflammation and a lot of the scar tissue that builds up with athletes. We took Richard on at a stage where he'd just come out of a cortisone injection, but he also had chronic pain in 3 or 4 different parts of his body. So as well as getting rid of the pain via the traditional physical therapy route and the strengthening route, we've had to really understand that you also need to work on the nutrition side of things. Once you've got the nutrition, the mechanics, and the therapy side of things right, you stand a good chance of starting to eradicate those things. And we're not definitely in a proper place in terms of getting rid of all these problems, but we're minimising things at this stage and moving in the direction of being a pain-free athlete.
Where's he gone now?
He gets nervous, has a walk around and just sort of gets himself ready. Because you were only doing 2 reps as opposed to a higher volume of work, the intensity of those reps is super high. So he needs to be mentally, physically, neurologically ready to go. We haven't got any second chances to get this right, and the premium on this program is to run faster week after week. So there's a bit of nerves associated from both Richard and myself, because this is where the improvements in his running are going to come from, or not, if we don't get these sessions right. So it's really important that we take this seriously and we make sure that he's ready to go.
So today you're doing 300, 200.
Yep.
As you say, you always go through a progression to get there.
Yep.
What's the progression you've gone through, and how do you know that he's ready to run 200, 300, 200 metres today?
So we've gone through a progression of first getting him back to running after his cortisone injection in his Achilles, and that involved starting with just walking drills, then moving to normal drills, then moving to grass running, then moving to running on track. Then once we got in a position where he could handle running 3 to 4 times a week on different surfaces in trainers, we then were in a position to put him through a general preparation phase, which involved lots of tempo running, lots of therapy work, lots of rehab, but also involved our start of the progression of the specific running, which at that stage was on grass, was things like around about 10 300 meters on one session, and the second session was 600 meters, where we were doing things like 5 times 600, where the intensity of these runs was very medium, and the volume of the runs and the rest period reflected that. And what we were doing was just preparing Richard to be able to handle the work that he went into in his specific preparation, which we are now in week 7 of. We've gone through 6 weeks of the specific prep, and in the first week we started with repeat runs inside on the track, running over 60 meters at a certain intensity to be able to prepare him to run over 300 meters at the intensity that we want him to. So he did that, the repeat runs inside, for a number of weeks, and then we slowly transitioned him to run 300s, and we started that process about 3 weeks ago, and he ran 2 300s. We're now at the stage where the second rep is becoming slightly smaller than 300. In terms of our 600 work, we spent a lot more time on the repeat runnings inside to try and get him to run at the intensities that we wanted him to run at, and we've now transitioned him on to be able to run a full 600 at the pace that we want him to, and we started that last week. Our target is to get him under 80 seconds. Richard's best 600 meters in training before was 82 seconds. So we're trying to push him to get an improvement in that. Okay, that's 10 minutes. You get ready to go.
What rest do you have between that last 60 metres and this run?
10 to 15 minutes.
How do you decide that?
Just the intensity of his running and the meterage that he ran sort of dictates that we're going to have an extra long rest. So we're deciding his rest of 1 to 2 minutes every 10 metres, depending on how fast he's running. So that's how we sort of calculate his rest as we go. Good to go?
That's
Mate, be positive, okay?
Good fast acceleration and relax, and then maintain.
Come on, Rich! Let's go, Rich! Go, Rich!
I'd be interested to hear what Steve has to say, because that's the first time I've seen him run 300 meters. You know, when you see them get up to speed, it always looks different than when they're doing an acceleration to 30 or 50 meters. He's still not quite there yet.
33.49.
So consistent anyways.
You stumbled big.
Yeah, I missed the 100 split. He went through in 21.5.
There's still some work to do there.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've really seen him open up now. There's still a lot of backside stuff going on.
Yeah. He was tired today, and then that was a tired run.
He's up here, yeah. But that's good if he's repeating times under fatigue. Did he look cleaner the first time you saw him?
Oh, that first Tuesday was just, it was unbelievable. It was just amazing.
Something's wrong today. What was it?
33.4.
You can't be in a fully tapered state for every session, right? So all of your volumes are peaking right now, and there's going to be fatigue. The important thing is that you're consistently turning up the same types of performances even under fatigue. But it is like you have to. Okay, first, I mean, there's a couple of things that are happening firing-wise. Your acceleration is not as clean as it has been, and your your shoulders, I could tell you're trying. So you know when I say run 95%, it means run as fast as you possibly can without trying to run fast. Your shoulders are up in here, even coming off the first corner, and you're just making everything you're just that little bit tight, and that's just going to take extra work, which is going to catch up to you at the end of the run. I think you probably spend, you should try and think about just shifting your mechanics to the front a little bit as well. Just, stand up, really relax, stand up nice and tall, keep all the action in here, especially on this 200. But that was quick through 200 meters.
21.5. It's good, mate, for today.
Yeah.
So much harder.
Yeah.
No, but right now, 2 weeks, just getting the work in. You go to South Africa, you'll be outside, it'll be warm, you'll see an improvement, you'll taper, you'll see a huge improvement. The important thing now is get the work in and you stay healthy.
Stay consistent.
It's relatively, the quality is still very high. And remember, there's a big difference between running those in 33.4 indoors and 34 mid.
Good trainers on.
Good. Even on your fatigue days, you're running faster than you were in the summer. And you're indoors as opposed to outdoors. So.
The first time we ran 33.4 was, when we first started doing it, he makes very, very big improvements. We'd rather he make smaller improvements. So he went from 34 low to 33.4. It was just because we caught him on a special day when he was really, really fresh. Like, he was just ready to rock. Neurologically, his system was just ready to go. And at that point, the volume of the whole thing hadn't caught up with him.
So now he's running 33.4, but he's fatigued.
And yeah, he's really tired. So we're fairly happy with that. Him psychologically, he just needs to learn to deal with that a little bit better. And I think when he ran 33.4, I think he expected 32 high would be in, would just sort of produce itself. But that's probably not going to be there until he comes back from South Africa. But when he gets out to the warm weather and the volume starts to drop in his program, we expect him to go significantly quicker. So.
More session down, still healthy.
2:16.
That's
Slow down as well. When he did his 33.4 and he just popped out, his acceleration mechanics were absolutely on point. He was so efficient. He's nowhere near that today.
and he's really actually done a good job, like in terms of he hasn't missed any sessions.
No, he's doing well.
Yeah.
He's doing well.
There hasn't been any recovery, if you know what I mean. Like there hasn't been any periods where, so I think it's normal. He definitely does not look as reactive as I've seen him. That was good.
He's got some gym work, but there's no point because it's quite explosive.
I'd agree. The way he was going on, I was almost saying to scrap the 200, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to let him see if he could let him make a little more noise before doing that.
He puts quite a bit of a premium on coming here and running faster. I think when he did that 33.4, I was saying to Tom, he automatically expected the 32 high just to pop out, just like that. But when he did that 33 high, it was before the volume came on top of him. And it was also It was also just after that week he got stuck in Sheffield, where he had a little bit more recovery that previous week because he missed. That's the only session he has missed.
What's the feeling about the session today, and you've got some gym work lined up?
Yeah, the feeling on the session is generally we're pretty happy with what he's produced today. He himself will probably not be as happy, but when you look at what this session is surrounded in terms of the volume of work that he's completed, and the lack of recovery that he's now going through in terms of the density of his training right now, it was quite impressive for him to come here and do what he's just done. There seems to be a lack of responsiveness on the ground, which is a bit unusual for him, which is kind of indicating a little bit of flatness he was carrying into today. So we were going to do some gym work, but it was of a bit explosive nature, so we're now going to just take a rain check on that gym work and come back to it next week, because we're not going to get any positives out of that.
Cool. I think the main challenge for him has been the intensification of the work that he's doing. So he's never trained with this kind of intensity before, even though he has a significant amount of recovery between the sessions. He is only just starting to figure out what the types of fatigue that result from intensive work, and it feels different than the kind of general malaise that comes from just being tired from running 35 and 36 second 300s, and all of a sudden you're running 33 second 300s, although far less of them. You think you're not doing the work, but then you feel extremely tired. It's simply because he's having to adapt.
So yeah, it was a good session.
How do I? Richard Buck eating his post-workout nutrition.
This is turkey with cranberry. In the middle of the turkey, I have just put a thick layer of gravy, which gives it that real festive taste. You know, I mean, you wouldn't want to do this all year round, but I figure in Christmas, why not go and swallow yourself? Steve sends inspirational emails every week, and the theme of this is really, you know, obviously to inspire you and just to focus you for the week ahead. So this week the topic was really getting down and beating Glenn Hawkes over the 600s on Friday's session. It's just tough because Glenn's actually our 600 man of the group. I feel confident I can do it though. I have the raw 400 metre speed to take him through, but the pressure comes on the second rep, and it is a lot of pressure. You stand on that start line, you know, I honestly think it's at least as much pressure as standing in the final of a home Olympics as the favourite. It's hard to deal with. You don't really know where to look and how to take it. But when you know, when that gun goes, you just got to stick with the program. You know, he's going to try and run the kick off you in the second lap. You expect that, but really, it's just about keeping within, you know, a couple of meters of him, because you always know you're going to come home strong.
That's quite good. Don't make faces at the camera; they might get in the shot.
Yeah, we're not scared of Jeremy Warner. We're scared of Glenn Hawkes over the 600. That's where we're at.